with you here. No Josh today because he's lazy, but we're also recording at a really late time. Um, Today we're gonna be talking about the Orioles' new City Connects, which dropped earlier today. We were recording at 9:05, and these jerseys came out earlier this Monday. Um, we're just gonna share our thoughts, our opinions on this. Um, Phillip is here with me today to break this down fully. Um,
Hmm.
and well, I think we should just get going into this right off the rip,
Yeah.
without anything else. So the Orioles City Connects are officially out. We saw the leak, right, on
Hmm.
Twitter, um, and it looked, pretty underwhelming. I would say. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, as an Orioles fan, like it was a bit disappointing. And you can't really deny that because it's a plain jersey and
Hmm.
it's not super exciting. Um, and the leak was correct, if we will say. It was confirmed that that leak is pretty much accurate. And it didn't look exciting in the initial photo in the warehouse,
No.
where it was shipped or whatever. But in the photo shoot when the Orioles did it, personally for me, it looked fantastic. And I think that's gonna turn a lot of heads. I think with these jerseys, um, in terms of sales and just liked how well liked these are. The photo shoot that
Yeah.
the Orioles did, I think, was fantastic, and it's gonna turn a lot of heads with these jerseys. Fel, what was your takeaway with these when you first saw
Um.
them?
No, you're completely right. Like though, just like this image of like them on the table and like just the office, they looked quite embarrassing for a city jersey. I'm like, if this is really
Hmm.
what they look like, that's bad. I'm not going to say they look fantastic, but they look a lot better on the actual players. And like they don't look as bad as I was anticipating. I like the helmet actually a lot, like the helmet that they had and like the hats, like with
Yeah.
the B. I
Hmm.
actually do like
Hmm.
that. And there's more color on the jersey than it first looked like. I was like, this looks like a T-shirt that they'd sell at the team store. This doesn't look like a City
Gotcha.
Connect jersey.
Hmm.
But I think I'm not a ginormous fan of them. I think they're a lot much. I think they're much more better City Connect jerseys, but I think these are passable. And honestly, I'm excited to see when Baltimore debuts. And Pat, do you think you'll be getting one of these jerseys?
Um. If I'm being honest, I think so. I'm honestly thinking about the hat and shirt and
Yeah,
jersey combo, because I think that'd be really cool. Summer fit to get that rolling out. Now obviously, these aren't super exciting. Like I think anyone can admit that when you scratch the surface, like it just says Baltimore, and
hmm,
that's not super, bold. And we've seen a lot of bold City Connects. We had the Red Sox yellow jerseys, which were pretty out there. Uh, and teams have gotten a little crazy with these jerseys. These might be the safest City Connect you will find
yeah,
on the out of all the City Connects when they all come out. This I think is like gonna be the most safe, just most plain, boring
yeah,
one that we're gonna see out of these. But I think they look cool at the same time. Personally, for me, I really like on the back of the jersey. The name is an orange. That looked pretty cool.
I did like that. Yes, yeah,
I think for me, the white I think was might have been a bit overused. Which it is what it is. I think the orange and white on this were kind of interchangeable, and it's just a matter of opinion on what you wanted to use if you were designing this. But I think it still looks fine. Now, obviously, there's a whole explanation to this, and I'm not going to read all of it because that's going to be boring. I'll sum it up. And I've read up on this, and the explanation is valid. I'm not going to say it's not a valid explanation and going in depth in these. Um, reading about it. So basically, what these jerseys embody is the city of Baltimore and the neighborhoods. That's where you're getting all the colors from. It's embodying all the neighborhoods in the city of Baltimore, which is very important because they make up the city of Baltimore and allow the city of Baltimore to be what it is. And they want to pay tribute to that. And then Baltimore actually across the chest is written, kind of in a scratched, gritty, font.
Yeah, I do
Um,
see that.
and that embodies, how resilient the city is, how resilient the Orioles are, which I think is a nice touch. I believe it was also inspired from a press, like a newspaper, MICA or
Oh, that's cool.
MCIA,
Yeah, that's
um,
cool.
Maryland Institute of like Global Art, MIGA. So yeah, I think that's cool. Hold on, I can pull it up on Twitter here. Um, so yeah, it's
I mean,
global.
these are.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think they're like you read the background, and I
Mm,
mean, like I see where they're coming from, like trying to like make it about the city, but like I don't really see that. I mean, a lot of
mm,
these jerseys, I think most of them they're just there to look cool. They're not really there to actually show stuff about the city. I think
mm,
the honestly is one of my least favorite city connects actually does it the best, which is Boston. It's like basically a tribute to like the Boston Marathon runners, I think. And like
yeah.
even though I don't like it, but like it at least like kind of shows like it has like roots to the city. Well, I don't think a lot of the other ones, even like I guess the Nationals, like the Cherry Blossoms, like that's the only other one that I feel like kind of comes close. So I understand where teams are coming from, but a lot of the time they're just like, look at these cool jerseys, and here are things that we very subtly added in that are about the city. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally hear you. And you mentioned this one. For me, one that embodies the city really well. You just mentioned it, the Washington Nationals. I think that one
Hmm.
embodies the city of DC really well. The cherry blossoms, and that's very important for DC. That's a big draw in the springtime. I,
Yeah.
I I personally remember, going with my dad on the metro and going to see the cherry blossoms over spring break, and um, I think that's a great way to incorporate the city. And
Yeah.
obviously, springtime is right when baseball season starts, so that's great timing there as well. And the Nationals, I think, really embody the city of Washington well, and they did it in a good manner. Now, the gray is boring, but I think it allows the pink to stand out a little
Yeah, like
more
I
than it
think
would.
they the colors complement each other well, which is what I like. And
Right.
that I think the same about like the black and like the kind of rainbow. You'd think it would look super goofy, but
Mm,
it doesn't look half bad. It actually like they
right.
kind of complement each other.
Right. And if you don't use like the crazier color, the more bold color as the primary color, I think it
Hmm.
does work better as a jersey. Like the
No,
Orioles have the black, which is a very basic and standard color, but then you have the little sprinkle, um, pop and rainbow, which I think works. And
yeah,
I think if it was reversed and you saw like the black trim on a rainbow jersey, like
that
that's
would look
just
horrible.
out of this
That would
world.
make me throw up.
That's literally insane, and that's part of the reason why the Red Sox doesn't work. Is well, I mean, the Red Sox is tough, right? Because both of those colors
Yeah.
are bold.
Oh
Like
yeah.
even the powder like blue kind of S color is still
You
a
know how
very
much we
bold
love our
out there
powder blue
jersey.
jerseys.
I know, but it's more of a light blue. It's more like a baby blue.
It's a baby blue. That's exactly
Not
what it is.
necessarily a powder blue, but I think this Orioles one is solid, and does pay tribute to the neighborhoods, like I said with the rainbow. Apparently, there it's supposed to make the outlines of the neighborhood. Uh, is there anything else I forgot to cover? The bee. So the bee on the hat apparently it comes off the road jersey, which says Baltimore across it, and
Yeah,
they separated the B, and they put it on the hat and they put it on the left sleeve to show how much they care about the city of Baltimore. Um, which I think was it was a good idea. I mean,
no,
I'm not
I
gonna
like
say
the
it's
hat a
a
lot.
bad idea. I think it looks pretty good, and
That's my favorite part. I think of the entire like outfit per se.
part of the reason I want to get the jersey and the hat is because
Yeah.
I think that look is really nice in itself. Um,
Mhm.
okay, I'm trying to think of anything else I forgot to cover in this jersey, which I don't think I did. And they and then the reason why the colors are inside the jersey and not outside is because you got to dig deeper in order to see the city of Baltimore that in that particular way. It can
Mhm.
come off as that black and white, but if you're willing to apply yourself to the city and you know give it your full devotion and time to learn about it, you can see those colors and you can see the beauty of Baltimore, and I think that's
Wow, Pat, that's
nice.
really deep.
I know. I just got deep there,
You must
and
do
then
quite well in your creative writing.
I know. I've had a lot of experience with creative writing, and then the last thing for me, um, you can't clip these wings is on the bottom left shirt tail,
Such a
which
goofy
is I
tagline.
guess coining
I don't
the
like that.
slogan. I do personally. I think it's great.
I'm not a
Um,
fan.
so it's from Baltimore poet uh Kondwani Fidel. He wrote it in a poem. He was a poet, and
Hmm.
he was describing the city of Baltimore. And you can't clip these wings, and that's kind of been part of Baltimore since then. And I
No,
think
I can
that's a
respect
nice
that.
touch to put on the jersey.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so now that we've kind of dug deep and fully broken down this jersey, what would you give the rating?
Well, out of my City Connect meter, Um, I like when teams release their City Connect jerseys. I'd like every team, honestly, to have a City Connect jersey. I know the Pirates are releasing one in June, I think, so probably pretty soon. On my City Connect rating, I'd probably
Yep.
give it a 5, right in the middle. I like. I see the thing where it tells you like all about like what's in the jersey and stuff, and I don't hate it. I think they will look good on the field,
Yeah.
but just by itself as a jersey, I'm not a fan. But I think the hat redeems it definitely,
Hmm.
and I like the helmet, and I think the players look good wearing them. Like the orange, I guess word mark on the back, like for the last names. I'll give it a 5. Pat, what'd you give it?
I'm gonna give it like a 7.5. I'm
Nope.
I'm a little biased because I'm an Orioles
Yeah.
fan, and I'm hoping to buy this. Um, but I do think that these are solid when you dive deeper into the meaning of it, and you know I don't think it's fair to write off this jersey as like, oh, it's boring. It just says Baltimore. If you're willing to dive deeper into the meaning, I think it is really nice and how it embodies Baltimore. So for
Yep.
me, that's gonna be a 7.5. I'll meet right in the middle of my 7 or 8. Um, and then you mentioned that how you want every team to have a City Connect uniform, and it triggered this thought that I've had for a little bit. And this doesn't have to do with the Orioles, but what do you think the New York Yankees are gonna do for a City Connect jersey?
Are they releasing one?
I don't know. um, they're not. It's not this year, right?
Okay.
Because we've seen I've seen the schedule. They're not on the schedule this year.
All
But
right.
but the goal is for every team to have one.
Yeah.
But you consider a franchise like the New York Yankees, where
Yeah.
they simply haven't changed anything since the beginning of time.
Like
So I
another
don't know what's
team.
gonna happen.
Yeah, I would be extremely intrigued, kind of to see what happens. Similar with Detroit, right now they only have 2 jerseys, and I feel like they've
Right.
had 2 jerseys for a while.
Mm.
I honestly I have no idea what they do. I'm thinking honestly it'd probably just be a full navy blue jersey. Like it'd probably be like the main color would be navy blue, maybe with like Yankees and like that fancy kind of cursive word mark right across chest. It's gonna be a boring City Connect. It's gonna be one of the worst ones because they don't want to go too crazy with a team like the Yankees. Um, but I would be really intrigued, especially if they actually like try something kind of special with it. But they won't, I don't think, and it probably will end up being pretty boring. But I think it'll be interesting to see the Yankees have a third uniform in their rotation.
No, I mean, yeah, you mentioned the Tigers who have the 2 jerseys, but I don't think it's gonna be as big of a problem with the Tigers because the Tigers have some history, they have some
Yeah.
legacy, but I don't think it's gonna be too much of a problem for them to bring in a New Jersey unless someone wants to make it a problem.
Yeah, no,
But I think for the Yankees, and that franchise is storied, its history, they literally haven't done anything different since
the dawn
their
of time.
franchises started.
Yeah,
And we know how iconic the Yankee pinstripes are, and I don't think they want to change anything.
no,
So it's going to be interesting when they come to that crossroad of the City Connect and what they're going to do in terms of that. Because I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know what the Yankees want to do. I don't think they're in a position to say no, just because every team, I think the plan is for every team to have one, and I
yeah.
don't think the Yankees want to be that team to say no. But I don't really think they want one anyway, because they're the Yankees, and you know they don't change anything. So
Mhm.
that's on my part.
Yeah. And Pat, you and I the other day were talking about like the best jerseys for each team. What is your favorite City Connect jersey?
Mm. I'll give you top three. I'll give you
Okay.
top three.
I'll give you a top three too because there are a couple that I
Okay.
really like.
Okay. Number. This isn't gonna be in any order for me. Um, in terms of 1 to 3, but I think in my top three it has to be the Mariners. I love the Mariner ones.
Yeah,
So good.
those are nice.
Seattle. The pilot vibes. The hat is immaculate. And hot take, I like the black pants. I'm
No,
gonna
no, the
I'm gonna
Black Pants are not it.
I'm gonna die on that hill. I know a lot of people are gonna give me crap for that, but I personally like the black pants. Now, obviously, the blue pants could work too. I'm not saying that the blue pants would be bad.
The
Like
blue
I think
pants,
that
those
that
don't
would be a
work.
good look too, the blue pants. But I think the black pants are pretty cool. And yeah, I'm gonna die on that hill. I don't care what anyone says. So,
All right,
number
what's your number
two,
two?
number two, tough. A lot of good City Connect jerseys.
Yeah.
I'm looking at teams. Um, this is tough. I'm gonna have to go. I think also my top three has to be the Diamondbacks. I don't know what it is, but
Ah,
the Diamondbacks one has stuck with me since that came out, and I think that one's great. I think that one's awesome. Um,
there's so
Serpientes
many good ones. Like
in
I'm
that
looking at all of them.
in that sand color.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that's great. Really embracing the desert vibe with the sand. Um, Number three, top to round out the top three. Oh, mm, you know what?
What?
We were talking about this the other day, and I
Yeah.
might have to go with it. The Marlins. Marlins ones are
No,
great. Those are
I'm not a
so
fan of
good,
those.
so good. The
Alright.
pop, the vibrance of the Miami Marlins, and the
It like
helmet
really
too.
it screams Miami. Like that's what I do
Really,
like
it
about it.
really
Yeah.
does. I think, but I would like to give honorable mentions to the White Sox. That one's a
Yeah,
good one.
that's one of my favorites.
I think Cincinnati. That's a great looking one. Angels, I've liked the Angels one. Cream, Astros. I forgot about the Astros. It's my bad. um, some great City Connects. On my part. All right, so you give your top three best, and then we'll
My
do
top
worst.
three. We'll do worst. All right.
Yeah.
I already know what's gonna be my worst. I'm
Ooh,
gonna give some quick honorable mentions to Milwaukee and the
another
White
great one.
Sox. Milwaukee and the
The
White Sox.
Brewers.
I
The
like
Brewers
those.
is another good one.
Yeah. Also Atlanta. I like Atlanta.
Yeah.
Number three. I'm going to give a shout out to my Washington Nationals.
Okay.
I wasn't going to put them in my top three, but I'm like, as a Nationals fan, I feel like I have to. It was between those and San Francisco, which I'll also give an honorable mention to. I really
Wow.
like those. I
San
do like those a
Fran.
lot.
Those were not
Um,
universally liked
no, I
when those
like them.
came
I
out.
think, especially
No,
like the
no, no.
helmet.
I think they're good, but universally, like the
Yeah,
reaction
I'm
was
gonna
not
go.
very good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Washington at three. Number two, that's gonna be
Okay.
Cincinnati. And I don't like Black Pants, but it matches so well with the jersey. and
Yep.
just a Cincy. It's super clean. I love those jerseys. Like the little
Mm.
logo they have, I like it. And I'm gonna be quick with this. Number one, the Kansas City Royals. It's just marvelous. It's what you
Oh, I
want in a
forgot about that.
jersey. It's just what you want in a jersey. It just looks so nice on the backs
No.
of those 14 and 34 Kansas City Royals. So beautiful.
No, no, wait a minute. I'm subbing out. I forgot about the Royals. I'm
All
taking
right.
out the Marlins, putting in the Royals. I love that Royals one. I know those ones are kind of, not great in terms of, how fans received it, but personally I love them. I think those
Yeah,
are
no, they're
fantastic.
really
The
really
navy
nice
blue is
looking jerseys.
nice, accented by the powder blue. The waterfall just looks amazing. Um, okay,
Just like
worst.
the fountain out in Kaufman, or they have
Yep,
that.
yep.
Um,
And the Orioles were just there, so I
yeah,
saw the series in Kansas City, which was like late April, I think. Okay,
yeah.
bottom three, bottom three.
Should
Um,
I? Yeah.
I'll go ahead.
All right.
I think this one is kind of universally acknowledged as one of the worst ones. And I'm not saying it's a bad jersey, but it's just it doesn't differentiate from the current jerseys at all,
It's the
in my
Dodgers,
opinion.
isn't it?
Dodgers.
Yeah, I have
Yeah, I
that down
mean,
there too.
it's
It's
just
not a
not
bad jersey.
it's not different. Like you're supposed to make it different, and it's not. It's like,
Yeah.
and literally that uniform was so bad. You remember initially in 2021 they came out with the Los Dodgers on the hat. They literally changed the hat this year to just straight up LA. Like that's how much of a
It was
flop that is.
lazy. It was
Like
lazy.
the fact that they had to change the hat 2 years later is ridiculous. Like a successful City Connect jersey doesn't have to do that, but yet that one did because it wasn't good, and the Los Dodgers just did not work on the hat. Another. Oh man, I don't know. There aren't really any ones I feel like that are bad. Um,
Do you want me to say two of them? My other two, besides the
no,
Dodgers.
hold your thought. Um, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Rockies. That one's
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
not super strong. It's kind of weird how it starts off white and then it goes to the Rocky Mountains in green on the jersey itself, but then the green continues to the pants, which was a
Yeah.
very interesting decision. Yeah, it's just not very good for me. Not super strong. You know, I don't know, just doesn't get it. Just not super exciting. And then my last jersey. Mm, I'm gonna I'm gonna if I'm if I'm not an out there jersey person, I'm gonna go with the San Diego Padres. I
I
mean,
don't. I don't hate that.
in reading about it too, because I was reading about it once, not doesn't match up in my opinion. To the description does not match up to the jersey itself, and the background that they gave on it. I just feel like doesn't correspond. And it's vibrant. I get it, like San Diego vibes, but I don't know. It just doesn't really work as a jersey for me. All three coming from the NL West. I'm sorry.
Um, yeah. The only one I might throw in there is Boston. Obviously, it's good meaning behind it, but as a jersey, doesn't look very good. And I just like to say, Colorado. It looks like the Coors Light cans. If you know what I'm saying. And
I
it does
do.
look like
Yeah,
Rocky
yeah,
Mountains, and I love the idea, but it's just like
yep.
reminds me of a can of Coors Light. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with it.
I was thinking about the Boston one. That one wasn't very good.
Also, the Cubs. I don't really like the Cubs one.
What? You don't like the
The Wrigleyville
Cubs?
one. The Wrigleyville
Oh
one. I'm not a fan.
man,
Not a fan.
why?
I just don't think they look
Why?
very good.
So
I love
similar
like
to.
the
If you're gonna give the Royals credit, you gotta give the
no. They
Cubs
just have
credit.
the same color. They don't really look that similar. You know what
They
I'm
both
saying?
have powder blue. I mean, the Cubs don't use the powder blue as much, but
Dang.
same
Like
baseline.
they just have the same
Man,
color. They don't look the same really. They're different. They're very
they
different
do
jerseys.
though. They kind of do.
Well,
Put
I
them.
don't like the Cubs one. Sorry.
Wow, that's. I was honestly thinking about the Giants one as one of the worst ones.
Ah,
That one's like, I don't know.
no.
I don't know.
Okay.
No, to be honest, in reality, like it's middle of the pack. Like it's just fine. Um, not
Oh,
good,
I like
not
it.
bad for me. As a City Connect. And now let's just talk about the season and how everything's going. Um, we haven't really made any opening day stuff. Um, in terms of talking about teams and all that. Um, but what would you say are your biggest like surprises and then biggest disappointments so far?
Um, well, my biggest surprise is obviously Yenner Cano. I mean, there have been a bunch of guys that have really like stood out to me. Adam Frazier, Jorge Mateo, at least for April. May he's been just like just an automatic out.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, it has to be Yenner Cano. I mean, he went from like did you hear the story how he like was in Cuba and they didn't even let him play baseball because he asked to leave? Did you hear about that?
I think I did. Yeah,
Yeah. So he goes from not even being able to play or practice baseball to having a 0.38 ERA through 23 and two-thirds innings. He has 26 strikeouts and a 0.3 whip. I mean, he's just been unhittable. I saw a stat. I think it was, I want to say his changeup, but I don't know. I actually don't know what it was. That's like, it's the most unhittable pitch in baseball so far, or something like that. Um, if you want to talk about what your biggest surprise has been while I find what pitch that was.
um, yeah, I would agree. Um, and your Cano kind of coming out of nowhere. Part of this story that you forgot. Um, he was part of the Twins and
Yeah,
was thrown in
Jorge
the Jorge
Lopez.
Lopez deal. Kind of felt like hey, let's just get this fourth guy in here and let's just complete the deal and whatever, like hunky dory, like just
Yeah,
get this deal done. And, obviously the main piece was really at the time of that trade was Cade Povich, who's shout out to him pitching
he's been doing
spectacular and
very well. Yeah,
he's been doing amazing in Bowie and that's awesome. And then the two younger guys, Juan Rojas and Juan Nunez, have been doing pretty well at the lower levels of the Orioles system. But we're focusing on Yennier Cano right now. He was just kind of the throw in the trade, and then come the off season, and he got a snip at a time with the Orioles in 2022, and then you know in the off season 2022 2023 off season, fans a lot of backlash from fans were like, why is he here? He's kind of in the roster bubble a little bit, and a lot of fans would thought he was gonna get DFA'd or something to get the younger guys up and just kind of another lost cause in an Oriole trade. But no, the Orioles held on, looked really good in spring, and
hmm
didn't make the club initially out of spring training. But once he was recalled, I mean, dude was locked down. That sinker changeup combo has been
yeah.
lethal to
No, it
hitters.
was the changeup. He has a 0.3 run batting average against, and his sinker has a -10 run value. And he also
Yep.
completely ditched his four seamer from last year. Barely threw it, but he just decided to ditch it and go sinker, changeup, slider.
Yeah, I mean the sinker changeup for me because I've been watching a lot of Orioles baseball and seen a lot of Yennier Cano. That stuff dances. I mean, he can move it so well. And Kevin Brown, Orioles announcer, he made a very good point that I really like. He commented on Yennier Cano and Felix Bautista, the Sap closer duo, which is arguably one of the best this franchise has ever seen. Uh, Yennier Cano works very east to west with his stuff. Works that change up sinker combo, and he'll get a slider in there too, I guess at times.
Yeah,
But he works this change up and sinker, down in the zone on a horizontal plane, and then Felix Bautista just throws the ball so hard he'll come up in the zone or he'll go down in the zone. He'll try to
yeah,
ride the fastball up and get you to bite, or he'll try and sink the ball down with that splitter. So it kind of changes the hitter's eye levels, and I thought that
Yeah,
was a very good takeaway. But yeah, Yennier Cano
which
has
is why it's
been
so hard to adjust. Like eighth
exactly
and ninth inning. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, eh, like I said, this could be one of the best duos in the bullpen that we've seen from this Orioles organization and franchise. I mean, you had Darren O'Day and those mid 2010s teams, but
Hmm.
this is unbelievable. I mean, those guys are on another planet right now with the stuff and with the results. I mean, Yennier Cano has kind of been an unsung hero. It feels like
Yeah.
for this Orioles team, and obviously he gave up a run in Toronto, but he
Oh
went
no,
like
one
what
run,
20 something innings with no runs. Like
23, like
that's
22 and 2/3, something like that, without a
that's
run.
just ridiculous. That's
Yeah.
insane. And was running a no hitter at one point. I mean, or perfection.
I think
You
through like
can't
17 innings, he hadn't even given up a walk or a hit or something like that.
exactly like this. Yennier Cano has been just simply unbelievable
Yeah.
for this Orioles team and amazing. And I'm very happy for him because I think it's a cool story.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, he's also a huge dude, 6'4", 245. I mean, you got two like absolutely gigantic human beings in Cano and Bautista just hurling anything at you. Like in the eighth and ninth, it's almost impossible to like even get a hit off of those two.
yeah, and you know, it's funny. Felix Bautista gave Yennier Cano the nickname the Rock because you got to climb the
Yeah.
rock to get to the mountain. Um,
That's good. I didn't hear about
I
that.
know that's really good. Rock in the mountain, that's fantastic, and hopefully we'll be seeing
I'm gonna
that
wear a
for
rock.
a long time. I've been pleasantly surprised with Adam Frazier. I don't think he's
Yeah,
blown
that was my
any.
second guy.
I don't think he's blown anyone out of the water by any means. Um, with his production, but he's been like solid. He's been a solid, productive player, and he's been a good stopgap. Obviously, Westbrook, a guy like Jordan Westbrook's tearing it up in AAA, knocking on a major league door. But Westbrook's been shifting positions a little bit, and the Orioles want to make sure that he's comfortable, moving around the diamond a little bit, getting playing at different positions. Same with like a guy like Connor Norby, who could be major league ready soon, and Adam Frazier, has kind of been the stopgap for the Orioles, but he's been pretty productive. I mean, had 3 home runs last year in total. It's 5 now, which is
Yeah,
is pretty impressive. Um, we could be seeing a double digit season out of him in terms of home runs. Two guys in the outfield, I think Austin Hayes. I've liked
yeah,
his consistency. I think that was important for Austin Hayes to be a consistent everyday player, and that's kind of what he's been. I mean, nothing spectacular, but he's managed to keep the stats afloat, and I think that's really good for him in his major league career. At 27 years old, maybe a little bit of a late bloomer,
yeah,
and then I know he had a really bad look at the beginning of the year in Boston when he dropped that fly ball, but Ryan
yeah.
McKenna has been a great presence off the bench. He's done exactly what he needed to do. Um, he's been a bit underwhelming overall in his career, but now getting put in the best spots to succeed, kind of following the Rays method a little bit. Tampa Bay,
Yep.
the Orioles are finding ways for him to be productive, and that's
Yeah.
he's doing just that. I'm not gonna
I
say
also
Ryan. I'm not gonna say Ryan O'Hearn because
Yeah, he
that's
had one really good game, but besides that, he hasn't really done much.
like too small sample. And then one guy I want to shot. I mean, Tyler Wells has been great with the ERA and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but Diddy Colome, I think, is a guy I want to shout out. My
Yeah,
last
the
guy
entire
before I
bullpen.
turn it over. Yeah, I mean, really the entire bullpen. But Danny Colome has been, I think, really good. Um, this was a guy who came in to the Orioles team right at the beginning of opening day, and right at the end of spring training was acquired from the Minnesota Twins for cash considerations. Didn't make the Twins team at a camp. He did not make it. He was going to be in the minors, but the Orioles took the flyer and they sent over cash to the Twins for Danny Colome, and Danny Colome has made that worth every single cent of those cash considerations that the Orioles let go. He's been great. His bit. He's definitely more of a he doesn't throw that hard, but his stuff has movement and has
Yeah,
great movement at that.
just hard to hit him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've seen some curveballs, some sweepers, anything. I mean, it feels like he's got a bag full of tricks every time he steps on the mound. Danny Coulomb, and especially with an Orioles bullpen that's a bit right-handed heavy, I would say. Um,
Having a lefty sprinkled in there every once in a while is good.
exactly. You got Cito Perez who throws hard, and then Danny Coulomb who will come at you with the breaking stuff, and he's got a 2.65. I mean, love it. I think he's been great, and especially acquired for cash. Like that looks like a steal for the Orioles right
Yeah.
now. So,
Uh, Before moving on to my most disappointing players, I
yep.
feel like I'm not an Orioles fan, but I feel like as an Orioles fan, you've got to kind of be a little bit annoyed at Adam Frazier, considering he's taking up, like, I feel like a roster spot from where guys like you said, like Connor Norby and Jordan Westburg, could be playing on the big league ball club. But he's been playing so well, you can't even be that mad at him.
Yep.
Yeah, so I I would be annoyed, but I'm like, he's played well enough as to where you can't be mad. My most disappointing players. I mean, you probably already know what I'm gonna say. It's been Grayson Rodriguez and Gunnar
Oh,
Henderson.
I didn't think you were going to say him first.
Um, I mean, just like I know that they're super young. They'll be fine. They'll probably make
Right.
multiple All Star teams. They'll like Grayson probably be in Cy Young consideration in like 7 years or something. Like I don't know. They'll be fine, but they just, I mean, Grayson, he's been getting rocked. I mean, I remember, I think at one point, his fastball, opponents rating like 430 against. It was something crazy. Now it's like 360, which is still really bad. But I'm like, he's had some trouble. If I'm the Orioles, I consider sending him down to AAA just to get his feet under him. Like, I mean, he's been getting hit really hard, and it's like, it's not like every ball that is hit off of him is hit hard. Like that's what I'm saying when he's getting hit hard. Like every ball is like 95 miles per hour plus. That's what I feel like I've seen. Um,
Mm.
so like he needs to force some ground ball contact. He needs to. I mean, I feel like he's kept the ball in the yard pretty well. That's again. This is what I've seen just watching my limited Orioles games. Um, but yeah, he just hasn't been good, and he'll be fine. Similar to Gunner, who's hitting a buck 80. Like he's getting on base, he's walking, but I'd like to see him actually get base hits to get on base and not just walk.
Uh, yeah, you mentioned Grayson. Obviously, Grayson has been lackluster in his time. Sometimes he looks dominant, and sometimes he looks overmatched. It's a bit of a roller coaster with Grayson right now at the big league level. But I do think, you said send him down to AAA. I think it's better for his development if he's able to work this stuff out in the
No, you're
bigs.
right. You're right.
Like I think if he could just learn and get more experience in the big leagues right now, uh, that would just be better for him rather than sending him down to AAA. And then you
Probably
mentioned
shot
him a
to his
little bit,
confidence.
right? Gunnar Henderson. Yeah, I think we need to address Gunnar a little bit. Uh, I will say Gunner's hitting the ball a little harder as of recently.
Yeah.
He's been squaring it up a little bit better, and the exit velos as of recently are looking a little better. Um, but overall, just not the player that we expected. And rookie of the year favorite right here in the American League um, hasn't really been that. I mean,
No.
just been lackluster. Now, I will say with Ramon Urias on the injured list, Gunner's getting a lot of time at third, which I think is good for him. But at the same time, hitting the buck 92. I mean, Gunner
Oh, that's
hasn't
actually better
really
than I thought.
Gunner hasn't really been that dude that the Orioles wanted him to be. Um, I mean, I'm sure there was a lot of pressure going for him going into this year, but um, yeah, just not really doing anything at the plate right now for the Orioles. Um,
No, not really.
so yeah, I mean, those are my takeaways so far. I mean, Adley's been Adley. Adley's been amazing. Um,
I mean, he has
Warren,
been a little bit more disappointing in the month of May. He was doing amazing. He was like the best hitter on your team in April, but I feel like Mullins and Santander stepped up in May while Adley, he's still hitting the ball very well. I think he's still hitting like 250, but like he has taken a bit of a step down, but nothing to worry about, obviously.
Jorge Mateo, incredible April.
Hitting 100.
Bad, horrible May.
Hitting 100 in May. It's been disappointing. I was excited to see him play well, and now he's not doing
Mullins
bad.
and Santander overall have been doing pretty well. On my part, Karen Vavra, I think he's been good off the bench recently. Good depth piece, and Mountain doing his thing. Kyle Bradish doing his thing. You know what? One
Mike
last name
Baumann.
before we hop off here. Mike Baumann, Big Mike. I think deserves a standing O right here. I mean,
I don't know
my
where
goodness.
he came from, but he's doing his thing.
Right? And in spring training, was made a full-time reliever, and had to adjust to the role. Had to get used to being a full-time reliever. Obviously, built up as a starter in the minor leagues. Been great, better than
I
I
think he's like
expected.
a 3-4 as like their long reliever guy,
I
like
thought
which is pretty solid.
I thought going into the year, like, okay, he's just going to be the stopgap for like a guy like Dylan Tate or Michael Givens. But no, Mike Baumann has solidified himself in this Orioles bullpen.
Yeah, keep
like
in that bullpen.
3.96. Obviously, that's could be a little better, but I'm not complaining.
But that's also like the long reliever. Like he throws the most. I feel like out of anybody in the bullpen. I feel like I always see him
25 innings in 21 games. Yeah, a little bit.
That's actually a little bit less than I thought he had thrown, but even still, not too bad.
Long reliever-ish, I think.
Yeah.
Orioles are still open to that idea. But he's been great. I think he's adjusted really well to this new role and making it hard for the Orioles to decide who's getting the boot when a guy like Dylan Tate comes back, because Mike Baumann's pitching well. He's been serviceable in this pen. I mean, he's gotten some good outs. He's coming to some spots where starters haven't gone as long as maybe the Orioles hoped, and you bring in Mike Baumann, just like, hey, get these outs, and he's just like, sure, I'll do that. And I've been impressed.
Yeah.
With him, I like the strides that he's taken in his big league career.
I mean,
so
before we wrap up, you were talking about who would go down for Tate. It would probably be Austin Voth, former National. I mean, like
could be.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel like that's the obvious answer.
Might be out of options though, so that's the problem.
Yeah, no, I feel like he's been up and down a lot, but I don't know. I mean, do you DFA him at that point? I mean, is he really that valuable? Like, I don't think anybody would really pick him up, probably, but I don't know. That's just what I was thinking.
Still run the chance of losing him.
I mean, but it's like, as a Nationals fan, Austin Voth really isn't that good. I know he's improved with Baltimore, but I mean, like, is he really that valuable to you? That
he's a guy. He's a bit like Mike Baumann. He'll give you innings out of the pen.
Yeah.
He's been good as of late, I would say. Right. He got off to a bad start at the beginning of this year. But he's been a lot better as of recently. I think he had a pretty good performance in Toronto. Now, granted, he was trying to hit spots. Sometimes it was working, sometimes it wasn't. But he was getting big strikeouts on Sunday in Toronto, and I think Austin Voth is he's a serviceable arm. And it's pretty impressive that the Orioles took a guy like him who had a 9 or 10 ERA with the Nationals.
Yeah.
And turned him into this. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, this
pretty impressive.
Might just be my leftover resentment for Austin Voth just being absolute human batting practice for the years he was with the Nationals. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, if you'd rather send down a Mike Baumann, instead of DFAing Austin Voth or something like that. We could look up if he's out of options, anyways.
Yeah, but it's gonna be tough. This pitching staff has made it tough for decisions to be made.
Yeah, I mean, you've got too much depth. That's the problem. You want to call guys up, you can't. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but then you're these guys should be in the majors, but they're not, and I don't know who we send down or release or even trade.
Right. I mean, it's tough. I mean, this was at one point a team that could barely find any pitchers, and now is just loaded with pitchers that have really been the backbone of this Orioles squad. I would say, And this team's been great. They're one of the best teams in the game now.
Mhm.
Believe they have the second best record in baseball behind
Yes,
Tampa Bay Rays.
they're two and a half
They're the
games back.
they are
On
currently,
them.
as of this recording, the only other team with 30 plus wins.
Well, I
So,
think once the Braves Dodgers game ends, one of those teams will get to 30 wins.
but
I want
that's
to
what I'm
say.
saying as of this recording. So,
Just saying. Just
um,
saying.
yeah, but the Orioles have been awesome. I think this team is just so much different from what it once
Yeah.
was. You look back to a couple years ago when this team was just dog water,
DJ
like
Stewart was getting majority play at different positions. It was
terrible,
bad.
just
It was
awful.
bad.
Four A players, a lot of 4A players.
It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
It really was a lot of just 4A players getting at bats at the bigs, just trying to fill holes for the Orioles temporarily. But the future is here. The time is now, and the Orioles are here to stay. And I think they've proven that. Obviously they had it easier in the earlier in the season. Against teams like the Tigers, the Royals, and teams like that,
But
which
I mean, they were beating those teams, which is
are
what you're
super
supposed to
impressive.
do as a good
Right,
team. Yeah.
and they did what they were supposed to do. They
It was
beat
similar with
those
the
teams.
Rays. Yeah.
They beat those teams. They beat the teams that they were supposed to,
That,
and
that that's how you make the playoffs.
and
That's how
then
you
and
like
then they
cement
kind
yourself.
of and then they kind of you know they're in the tough part of the schedule, tough stretch. They played the
Play the
Rays
Yankees
and
next.
they played the Pirates. Who are a lot better of an opponent than we thought they would be this year. They played the Braves. Now, obviously, we didn't win the series in Atlanta, but um,
Not too bad. It wasn't
it
a
was a
bad
great
series at
series.
all.
I thought it
I
was
I got
very hard fought by the Orioles, and I was very
no. I came
impressed
out of
with
that
that.
series thinking like being more impressed with the Orioles than with the Braves, probably.
Right, like the Orioles fought and clawed and did everything they could.
Mm.
The Braves just came out on top, and sometimes that happens. But took 2 out of 3 from the Rays, which is huge. They took they swept Toronto just now, which was a big one. Um, if I
Who had
can't,
just swept the Braves the series prior? Toronto had just swept the Braves. Then y'all went into Toronto and swept Toronto, which I think is extremely impressive as well.
got 2 out of 3 from the Pirates, who are a solid opponent now. I mean,
Except Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller is just apparently prime Randy Johnson or
I
something now.
I guess so. I mean, what else is there to say? Like, Mitch Keller's just him right now, like literally.
Indeed.
Um, but yeah, the Orioles are doing what they're supposed to do. Everything's going right. This team is good. This team is loaded, and this team is ready to compete. And so much more depth on the farm, which is fantastic. You have a lot of great prospects. But who knows? Come trade deadline, we could see some of those guys go, which would be really sad. And I wouldn't want to see that because I love a lot of those prospects. But if it helps the major league team, if it helps us win, I understand. So that's just the business of baseball. So great Orioles talk today. That's going to wrap it up here. Covered the City Connects for the Orioles, and hopefully I will be getting one of those at some point. Um, Talked about the Orioles season as well. Uh, Phillip, good talk today. Any last
Thank you
thoughts?
very much for having me on, of course.
Absolutely. Josh, that disappointment just can't hop on the podcast.
Unfortunate. We're gonna do one
It's
with all three of us, and then Josh just is not cool.
I know he's not. He can't lock in. Like
No, he can't.
I'm not even.
He's not on the grind like me and Pat.
He's not grinding, but Bird's Eye View's got some great stuff coming out. We got some great interviews that will be happening. So stay tuned for that. Philip will be here at some point. Honestly, we should probably just make our own podcast. I mean,
Yeah.
we'd probably get more episodes out than this.
Yeah. I
I
think
mean,
we get more. I think we get more viewers than Josh's lazy bum, probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
All
I
right.
mean, that guy's barely here. It
All
feels
right.
like
We'll
this
we'll
is the
work
name of
on
this
it. We'll
podcast.
let you guys know. We'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll get that all sorted out. All right, so great episode today. Thank you so much for listening. Appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter and social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube. We'll see you next time. And follow Beyond the Ballpark. That's my main baseball podcast. If you want just general baseball talk, head over there. I run it with my cousin. That one's been my main podcast for a while. That was great too. So go check that out as well. Uh, See ya.